Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home with the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape for every one of us. I was kinda late, I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah.
Hey y'all, welcome to a brand episode of the Hardy Wrestler Podcast with your girl Stephanie Hardy. I'm going it alone tonight. Bianca Addison could not make it, but of course, I have no problem steering the ship by myself. So she will be back on a later on another episode. But there is a lot of high stakes stuff going on with this episode of HWP Extra. Of course, the name of this episode is called Illusion, Coma, Pimp, and SummerSlam. So this will be a SummerSlam themed episode where I will be giving my predictions for this year's SummerSlam, which is taking place in Minneapolis this weekend. There is so much going on in wrestling, and I just want to send my well wishes first off to Kofi and Austin Creed, formerly known as Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods for WWE. If you have not looked at their Instagram posts and if you have not looked at their Twitter posts, they did release a video that was directed and created by Davin Poe, that alluded to them being free agents as of this week. So I just want to send them their love and their flowers for everything they have given to wrestling as a whole. And I can't wait to see what they do next. Also, I want to send my love and congratulations to Willow Nightingale, who became the new AEW Women's World Champion at AEW's Redemption this past weekend, as well as Maya World, who is a former guest of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. She became the new TBS champion as well. And I just wanted to start off by saying congratulations to those women because I love them so much and have worked with them in other capacities. So to see them reach the highest heights this past week was amazing. And even though this is a SummerSlam prediction show, I wanted to at least give them their flowers first off, because I won't be doing another episode this week. So I just wanted to start off the episode by giving them love firsthand because you know we support Black women in wrestling here on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. So if you have not already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with the logo that's in the corner over there, HWP, with Hardy Wrestling Podcast on the bottom. And also subscribe to the podcast everywhere you listen on audio podcasts. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and everywhere else you get audio. And of course, you can watch it live or and hit the subscribe button for the bell to ring whenever I go live or whenever a new episode drops of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast on YouTube. And also you can follow me on TikTok at Stephanie_Hardy so you can see every clip that I post and everything else like that so that you'll never be behind on anything that I talk about when it comes to the world of professional wrestling. So now that we've gotten that part out of the way, I am so excited for this weekend because SummerSlam is happening and it's one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year in terms of WWE's calendar. And of course, this is the second year that SummerSlam will be two nights. Of course, the first time they did it two nights, it was last year in New Jersey. But this time they are having it up north. in Minneapolis, Minnesota at the US Bank Stadium. And I will be attending. I won't be there as media, but I will be there as a fan with my dad. And I'm so happy that we are getting to do this together because it's been a while since he and I have been to a wrestling event together because he was the one who got me into wrestling. But since our lives looked a little bit different over the past couple of years, we haven't really had a chance to do it together in a minute. So it's just really cool that we're getting to do this and take this type of a trip for this type of event there. But of course, I just wanted to talk about how and give a little backstory and a little bit of history about SummerSlam before we get to the proper card itself. So, this is a US Bank Stadium. It's pretty freaking huge. Every time I watch wrestling with my dad lately, every time he looks at the US Bank Stadium, he gets overwhelmed because, of course, if you may or may not know, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. We have the Protective Stadium, and then we also have the BJCC slash Legacy Arena. And they are pretty big, but they're not as big as this, as a huge stadium like this, or the SoFi Stadium or other stadiums where football teams play and such. So when you're not really around stuff like this on a regular basis and you see the pictures or when you actually get there, you get kind of overwhelmed. You're just like, holy cow, this is big and this holds a lot of humanity. And it's true, it does. The last big experience my dad and I had like this was also with my sister. Well, all three of us went to WrestleMania 27 in Atlanta at the Georgia Dome, which of course is now no longer a building. They've tore it down and then put the Mercedes-Benz dome there. But that was really the last big event that we went to together. So seeing stadiums like this kind of just puts into perspective, how much investment is put into buildings and into franchises and things like that. So SummerSlam will be here in downtown Minneapolis at the US Bank Stadium. This is the 39th annual SummerSlam that will take place. Of course, the first one took place in 1988. Um, and this was sort of where we saw the mega powers, Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, along with Miss Elizabeth, rest in peace to two of those people. And they were going up against Andre the Giant and I believe Zeus. So basically, this is where SummerSlam was in 1988. Now, if you're like me, who I wasn't born back then, um, but either way, you could have called your cable provider in order to get this on pay-per-view. It was not called a premium live event back then. It was called a pay-per-view, and you had to call in and order it. And this SummerSlam was held at Madison Square Garden on Monday, August the 29th. So this was later on in the month of August, whereas now they've sort of pushed it up to the beginning of August. So this is what we had going on here, actually, and I made a mistake. So Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan were going up against Andre the Giant and Ted DiBiase, the Million Dollar Man. Excuse me. So yes, this is what was going on in 1988. This was the headliner, and it just sort of puts into perspective how much wrestling has changed and who this and what type of stars we have now, and also just how technology has changed. Because of course now you can stream PLEs, depending on what service you have in the world. You don't have to really order it on television. You can even go to the movies in certain cities and watch PLEs and stuff like that. So a lot has definitely changed since then. And the last time they had SummerSlam in Minneapolis was in 1999, and it was at the Target Center, which does still exist in Minneapolis, and it was headlined by The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And like the one in 1988, it was later on in the month of August, on August the 30th, and as you can see, there was an animation with the poster with these two people, with Stone Cold um, and with The Undertaker fighting with these buildings. So it's just pretty interesting to see here again how everything changes over time in terms of headliners and everything else like that. So that was SummerSlam in 1999 and at the Target Center. But of course, now this is what the Target Center looks like. I'm sure they've redone it and refurbished it over time. So this is what the Target Center looks like now. And the U.S. Bank Stadium, where SummerSlam will be this weekend, is the home of the NFL's Minnesota Vikings. Now, I know at one point they were kind of on an upswing, which was in 2016, which was when Prince sadly passed away. But then after a certain point, they kind of just fell off a little bit. And they are an NFL favorite, but they're not really like seen as a major player or a major team that most people want to just keep their eyes on most of the time, unless some changes are made or whatever. But this is where the Minnesota Vikings play. And if you have been watching wrestling lately with the different programming, in some of the commercials, you might have seen this handsome fellow by the name of Justin Jefferson. He was advertising for a special code to get low price tickets for each night at SummerSlam. And he's basically the star of the team. Don't ask me what position he plays. I don't know right now. I didn't have time to really look that up. But hopefully he'll be there with the influx of more and more celebrities that they have had. And I'm hoping that somehow or another that they will actually get other celebrities who aren't as problematic as certain ones have been in the past couple of days. But and also I would love for them to highlight more female celebrities that will come to these things. But either way, yeah, Justin Jefferson has been a part of the advertisement and the marketing for SummerSlam as a part of the Minnesota Vikings team. And I really think he's cute, but I may or may not be hilariously shooting my shot at an NFL player, but you just never know. Um, so yeah, that's what's going on with some of the history of the NFL along with that. But then when you think of Minneapolis, or basically personally, for me, when I think of Minneapolis, I think about the music artist known as Prince Rogers Nelson, aka Prince, aka the artist formerly known as Prince, aka the love symbol. Of course, if you are a fan of pop music, rock music, R&B music as a whole of the past 40 or so years, then you've probably more than likely heard of Prince, especially in Black culture. He is tied to Minneapolis due to being born and raised there, and he also stayed there, had a home there, as well as in other places during his lifetime. And he is a native son that Minneapolis is absolutely proud of due to all of his accomplishments as an artist, being a 7-time Grammy Award winner, a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, an Oscar winner, a Golden Globe winner, a musical prodigy, an actor, a meme icon. This man has done it all. He even had a Super Bowl halftime show, which a lot of people acclaim as one of the greatest of all time. And he's a family favorite because my dad really, really, really loves Prince. Like, if you know my dad, and if you have a personal relationship with him, you know how he feels about Prince. So Prince was kind of like, even though of course we didn't know him personally, he was like a huge cornerstone of my growing up. And then of course, as my music taste was forming as I got older, I began to appreciate his newer music and his older music as well. So if you are in Minneapolis, which me and my dad will be doing, you can go see a lot of the landmarks that he helped to make famous. Like if you've seen the movie Purple Rain, which just celebrated its 42nd anniversary this week, you can go to downtown Minneapolis and see First Avenue and 7th Street Entry, which is where music artists play to this day. That was a club that Prince and the Revolution performed in the movie, and also Morris Day and the Time, which he helped craft and create with Morris Day and Jerome and so many other artists as well. Then you can also visit Paisley Park, which is where Prince, that's where his primary home was in Chanhassen. And then there's also a highway that's named after Prince called Prince Rogers Nelson's Memorial Highway. So there's a lot of iconography that has to do with Prince that me and my dad will be going to see. We're taking a pilgrimage. I'm very excited about it. It's very important and very imperative to me that we get to do that along with the wrestling stuff. So it's going to be really cool. I cannot wait. I love Prince's music. And if I could just take some time, I guess, to just talk about a couple of favorite songs I have. I love the entirety of the Purple Rain album. Um, I love musicology in the entirety of that album because that was when I basically got into Prince for the first time and appreciated him for myself. Um, and I love Planet Earth, and I definitely love Diamonds and Pearls. Money Don't Matter Tonight, and Sign of the Times is another favorite Prince album that I have as well. And I'm probably going to like make my bridesmaids walk down the aisle to the most beautiful girl in the world when I get married. So Prince is an important figure to me. I love music and I love art, and Prince was definitely an artist. And of course, since I am of the culture, I must say that if I'm going to choose between Michael Jackson and Prince, I'm going to choose Prince because, from an artist perspective, there's just a little bit more that he gives to more mature ears. But that's not to say that Michael Jackson doesn't have that to offer either, because I love Michael Jackson down. But the older I get, the more I tend to appreciate Prince a bit more. So I just wanted to come on here and say that and add that little bit of trivia there, outside of professional wrestling. That is an interest that I have. So, moving right along away from the trivia component, we now move into the predictions component of the show. So, like I mentioned earlier, SummerSlam will be taking place over 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday. So, we're going to start giving our predictions for Saturday right now. And y'all know we got to start with the women. So, um, in speaking of Prince, that's something he really loved was women. And I wonder if he would actually have come to SummerSlam if he were still here with us. Who knows? But either way, we have two women's matches on Saturday night. Um, and the first one that really grabbed my attention, which I was so happy was made, was Fatal Influence, and the newly crowned women's tag team champions Fallon Henley and Lainey Reed. Shout out to her, Alabama, let's go. And JC Jane going up against the Bella Twins and Paige. Now, Brie Bella and Paige recently lost the women's tag team titles to Fatal Influence at Saturday night's main event, in New York City. And in the midst of them continuing their feud and fighting with each other, they were ganging up on Brie Bella and ganging up on Paige. And it was basically a 3-on-2 situation this past SmackDown until Nikki Bella made her grand return in an amazing t shirt that said, "You can look, but you can't touch." Um, and she basically said that she was going to challenge Fatal Influence in six-woman action tag action at SummerSlam. And this excited me because over the past 2 weeks, it's been looking a little bit bleak in terms of the women's division and their representation on SummerSlam. So the idea that this match was added along with Liv and Io made me so happy and just so relieved. And also the ladder match too. I was just like, thank God, because don't tell me we're just gonna get two women's matches and that's just gonna be it. So I was so happy this match was added. Um, I love that this is another huge opportunity that Fatal Influence gets to have, especially after the grand run that they had down in NXT and then being called up to the main roster and swimming with the sharks as of late and everything. I'm really pumped for them, especially Lainey, to have this opportunity. But I'm predicting that Team Bella Page is going to win. I would love to see them win because it's been a minute since we've seen Nikki in action along with her twin sister. I just feel like this is going to be a triumphant thing, which could very well lead to something else down the road because I have not forgotten that one time where Brie and Paige were fighting Fatal Influence, and then Brie was kind of distracting the referee. To the disadvantage of Paige. So I'm still looking at Brie, wondering where her loyalties lie in terms of her friendship with Paige. A part of me is still wondering, like, does her and Nikki have something cooking behind the scenes that we're not seeing? I don't know. But either way, I'm predicting that Team Bella Page is going to win. I am very excited for this match, like I said before, and I'm excited for Lainey Reed, and I'm happy for all of the accolades that Fatal Influence are getting and the attention that they're getting now that they are here on the main roster. And I just can't wait to see what happens in that match. It's going to be really, really good. And also, let's stop calling Paige a nostalgia act and making it seem like she's just this old lady. This girl is still relatively young. Um, because when she started in wrestling, she was like 19, and I really feel like she's probably in her mid to late 20s now. So we really got to stop making it seem like, oh, it's just a nostalgia act just because it was a long time ago when she first got started in WWE. But that does not mean that she's old, guys. Like, let's stop age shaming women and age shaming people in general. Like, it's just so dumb. Let's chill. Wrestling is not like every other sport where they look at you at a certain age and they'll just be like, oh, well, you need to stop. Wrestling has wiggle room for that. There are people still wrestling um, in their 60s and 70s now. So let's just stop the ageism in wrestling, please. Like, let's stop it. And of course, on Saturday, we have Liv Morgan versus Io Sky for the Women's World Championship. Now, of course, this came after Io defeated Liv Morgan in the Queen of the Ring tournament, which a lot of people argued that Liv really had no business in. But, the facts are the facts, things happen, and Io won. So, because she won, she decided to challenge Liv again for that Women's World title that she has indeed held before. Now, there's been a lot of discourse about whether or not this feud was taken seriously as the other feuds, given the fact that Liv has not defended the title in 100 days now, and she's been running around with the Judgment Day trying to get money back from Danhausen, and also not really seeing a lot more growth and conflict in the story of her and the other Judgment Day girls, and just not seeing any other women challenge her for the title since Stephanie HWP went down with injury, and just so many other factors that we just have not seen when it comes to the women's world title. And it is a bit upsetting when you have a champion like Liv who fought so hard for opportunities like this, but then she rarely gets a chance to defend it, all because larger women stars may not be there or may not be as active. It's disheartening and it's really sad because you want women's wrestling to continue to progress and for it to be given the same opportunities as men have. But then it's just, you're not trusting the women that you have there, and you're leaving your main big champion on Raw uncontested. And that's not exactly the best thing to do, but here we are, and Io is now fighting Liv. Then you have all the other shenanigans of the Judgment Day continuing to jump on Io and also jump on Sol Ruka, which led to her losing the Women's Intercontinental Championship this past Monday on Raw. And I do want to extend my congratulations to Raquel Rodriguez because I have been waiting and waiting and waiting for Raquel to get a singles championship in WWE for a very long time. Um, I am so thrilled. I was so thrilled on Monday when she won it. I would have loved it if she had won it or if they had put this on the SummerSlam card. But either way, I'm still very thrilled that she won it because I remember seeing her at the Mae Young Classic, and just being enthralled by how much power she had and her background in wrestling and all of the above. And then I'll never forget how she was the NXT Women's Champion at the same time as Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair being Raw and SmackDown Women's Champions. And they had that pose where all three of them solidified themselves as the future of women's wrestling at that time. So the fact that we've seen Rhea do everything she's done and Bianca do everything that she's done. And Raquel, she was an NXT Women's Champion, and then she was a multi-time Women's Tag Team Champion in NXT and on the main roster. We were wondering, when is she going to have her big moment? And now she really has it. She made a lot of improvements in her athletic game, and she's basically solidified herself as a big, imposing threat. And I am so happy that she got the title. But a part of me is wondering if the power structure is going to change if Liv loses. So I'm predicting that Io Sky will once again defeat Liv Morgan and become the new women's world champion. And that's going to cause more cracks in the Judgment Day, even though I feel bad because I feel like I've been predicting cracks in the Judgment Day for weeks, all for nothing to happen. But I just can't help but feel that Io will win the title off of Liv at this point. And then I also can't help but feel that Dan House's curses might feed into her downfall as well. So of course, we'll have to wait and see. I will not take this prediction as gospel, like I always say. If I'm wrong, I will say I'm wrong. But if it goes this way, it will be great. But if it doesn't, that's fine too. I am going for the show and it's going to be fun and I'm going to have a blast. These two women are going to tear it up and I have faith in that. So I'm predicting that Io Sky will become the new women's world champion, and Liv Morgan's chickens might come home to roost. You just never know. So, yeah. Now, those are the two matches, the two women's matches that are happening on Saturday night. So, we're going to move towards the men. Now, this is interesting because Um, I was sort of the notion that I felt like this match could have been replaced with something else, like maybe another women's match. But, when it comes to the bloodline side of things, I guess they wanted to take precedence and they want people to have another opportunity in terms of just these bigger names that are building themselves up. So we have LA Knight, Royce Keys, and Solo Sikoa going up against the Usos and Jacob Fatu. It's kind of interesting how this feud got started. It's almost as if I feel like all of this is really Solo Sikoa's fault because he kept trying to pull Royce Keys in his bloodline business. He was like, "We can work together. We can work together." Ever since Royce Keys first got to WWE because of their past relationship, but Royce Keys was just trying to stay out of it, right? But from the outside looking in, since Solo kept pulling him in their business, he was telling him like, y'all are fighting with each other and y'all are family. Like as a person who has lost family members, I am so tired of watching y'all fight each other. It's ridiculous. But of course, they don't want to hear that. They want to continue beating each other up and asserting their dominance or whatnot. And Jacob gets brought into it as well because he now is the right hand of sorts to Roman Reigns, and him and Royce Keys have a pass as well. So it's just it's very complicated. It's very heated and very crazy. But I am enjoying seeing Solo Sikoa show more of his personality other than being just a brute and just someone who wants to be a tribal chief knockoff. Um, Especially with the segment he had with his twin brothers this past Monday when Jay was like, "Here's your warning shot." Bow. And then here comes Solo in the crowd like, "Pow, pow." Like their entire argument on Monday just gave me big brother, big big brother, big sister, little brother, little sister vibes. And I can relate to it because nobody takes the win from your sales like your younger sibling. And honestly, nobody takes the win from your younger siblings sales like your older sibling does. It's just the back and forth and the banter that can get really, really silly and crazy at times, but we love each other. And that's just the vibe I got from it. So Solo is really stepping out of his personality is coming out more, and I am enjoying it. And I love seeing Royce Keys in more high pressure and big match situations like this because he is like a force. And I just can't wait to see more of what he has to offer. And then you have LA Knight, who is just looking for an opportunity to knock some heads loose on his way to the top. And he is looking to barrel through the bloodline in order to get that opportunity. And I don't blame him for that. So this is hard to predict. It's really hard to predict because you can't really go wrong with either team. But I think I'm gonna go with Team Bloodline for the win here because you have Jacob Fatu who is just unpredictable by all accounts. He's unpredictable, and the Usos are always on one accord because they're twins, and it's just they got that telepathy going on. I don't know how you fight that. I really don't know how you combat that. So I'm predicting that Team Bloodline will win this match, but we're definitely going to see some star-making performances out of Team LA Keys solo. So I'm excited about it, but I'm definitely going to go with Team Bloodline for this one. And then we have this match, which if you have been watching the Hardy Wrestling Podcast at any point in the past few weeks, you know that I am excited about this match. This is the match that I am so pumped about. It is the Ring General and the Career Killer Gunther going up against SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis. Baby, mm, baby. The level of excitement I have for this match, y'all can't even y'all can't even put it together how excited I am. The excitement that's living in my body for this match because the reason why I'm so excited is because I have said multiple times that Nick Aldis, is a wrestler and a former NWA and TNA champion and has had all kinds of feuds with amazing people in the indies like Eric Young and even Cody Rhodes and so many other people, right? So it's just kind of like to see him take off his suit like I've been wanting him to do, to finally see him get to this point and to get into Gunther's space, who's been bullying him and pushing him around. Like, oh my God, I'm just really pumped. I'm so pumped about this. Like, I'm just really excited about it. Like, and then on top of that, I'm just even more excited because I'll never forget the first time I saw Nick Aldis. And it wasn't on TV and it wasn't with me even watching NWA. It was, I feel like NWA's Empower in 2021 is like my canon, it's like my wrestling media canon event. um, where everything just kind of branched off for me in a weird way. And one day I'm going to make an episode where I talk about it and make it all make sense. But something that happened at Empower Weekend, of course, this was an all-female event that was produced by Mickie James, who is Nick Aldis's wife and also a legendary women's wrestler in her own right. So during a match that Camille was having, she was the NWA World Women's Champion at the time, and she had held this title for a long time, even after that point. And then she went on to AEW to do other things as well. But she was a part of the faction that Nick Aldis had with two other male wrestlers called Strictly Business. And while looking at Camille in her match where she was defending the Burke, which was named after Mildred Burke, there is these group of men sitting next to our table, and I was sitting there with Ella J, and with DS Shin and so many other people too. We were sitting at the table watching the match, but then right next to us, I just smell all of this really strong cologne and everything, and so I turn around and I look, and I try not to stare, but I look to the side and I'm just like, oh, who are these guys? Like they look like they, should be a part of any wrestling show. And then Ella told me that that was Nick Aldis and that was, Strictly Business. And then that next day, he had a match, I believe, for the NWA title. So that weekend was the first time I had ever seen Nick Aldis in any capacity ever. And I've basically been crazy about him ever since because to watch him wrestle, like I felt really blessed that weekend. Not only to see all that amazing women's wrestling and, getting to talk to who I talked to that weekend, but just also seeing the NWA event after that. I think it was NWA 73, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Seeing Nick be a part of that was just really nuts. He just looked like a star that should have been in WWE even then, and that was in 2021. It's 2026 now, and we're now seeing him wrestle in his first WWE match. It's crazy to think about. But the way I felt about him then is the same way I feel about him now. This man could very well be a star and have a feud against the best of them. He could have a feud against CM Punk today. He could have another feud against Cody Rhodes today. He could do all of that if he gets past Gunther this weekend. And I know a lot of people online have been sort of predicting that maybe this will be Nick Aldis's first and last match in WWE. seeing as he has not wrestled since I think maybe 2023. And he's been primarily working as a producer and on-screen general manager. They're saying that they feel like Gunther could just retire him outright and then that'll just be it for him. I don't want this to be it for Nick Aldis. I want Nick Aldis to beat Gunther's butt. Like, I want him to kick his ass so bad because Gunther has just been acting like an entitled baby this entire time. This entire SmackDown run, he's just been acting like a baby. He's been acting as if the world owes him something just because he's gone on this run where he's retired all of these big name people. And that means he should get a title shot. And I'm just like, no, because you're acting like you defeated and retired these people, for gold. Like, no, you did this for the glory. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean that you contend, for a championship. You can't just jump the line like that just because you retired AJ Styles, Goldberg, and John Cena. Like, yeah, that's not how any of that works. And because Nick Aldis was telling him, like, look, that's not how any of that works, he wants to act like a baby about it. So look, what do you do with a child that wants to act like they can't be disciplined? You discipline them. And I'm hoping that Nick Aldis absolutely disciplines the crap out of Gunther. And I'm predicting that Nick Aldis is going to win and that he will probably ultimately give up his general manager position permanently and just fight everybody. That's just what I want personally for me. I want Nick Aldis to just fight everybody, kick everybody's behind, feud with everybody. Like, just give me Magnus versus everyone. That's just what I want. That's personally what I want. But if it doesn't go this way, I'll be bummed, but I'll get over it. But either way, I'm so excited for this simply because I love Nick Aldis. Um, and because I always felt like he was a star and he just deserves this opportunity. Like, I can't even, I am just so pumped. I am so pumped. We are going to see Magnus. It's going to be so cool. And yeah, I just wanted to share this picture of when Nick Aldis was fighting against Cody Rhodes at the very first All In before it was an AEW entity. This was at the very first All In where um, Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks decided to take that opportunity to create an indie event that could sell out. So they did that and they fought at it. So that was really cool. So yeah, I'm just really pumped about this. And I'm predicting that Nick Aldis will win and start his WWE career as he moves forward after SummerSlam. It's gonna be so cool. I cannot wait. And also, here's more pictures of him and Strictly Business in NWA with the classic NWA championship. Oh my God. This is history, guys. This is wrestling history. And of course, we have one of the most highly anticipated matches on the card, Oba Femi versus Pumpkinhead Lesnar in Hell in a Cell. Now, of course, something interesting that I did want to touch on before I give my prediction for this match is that I saw a lot of discourse talking about the imagery of seeing Oba Femi locked inside Hell in a Cell with Brock Lesnar holding the key in front of him like this and walking around him, um, with the police officers inside and all of the above. I will admit it did give me pause a bit, in a sense, because it was almost as if they were making it seem give off the imagery that Oba was kind of like this wild animal in a cage. Um, and Brock Lesnar had the key and he, was just dangling it in his face, like, ooh, look at here. Like, and I hate that they gave that imagery off, but I also would like to say that I feel like that imagery was also giving off the impression that Brock Lesnar was kind of just being a coward and not wanting to get in the ring with Oba Femi at that point. He was just keeping that distance as if to say, like, yeah, like I'm out here and you're in there and you can't get me. And I completely stand it from that perspective, but also from a cultural perspective. You don't just put a black person um you don't fence a black person in and make it seem like, oh, well, this is like a wild animal that we have to control. Like, that was a level of craziness and a level of imagery that I do wish they were a little bit more sensitive towards. And I saw a lot of people online and on threads talking about that. And I do completely understand the sensitivity surrounding that from a cultural perspective. And I'm hoping that WWE will actually be a little bit more smarter about things like that and actually care a little bit more. But then again, they've also they brought Ryan Garcia in, who I found out has a very sordid past when it comes to talking about Black people in a very ugly way, too. But mind you, I did not know who Ryan Garcia was until Monday. But yeah, WWE, I really wish you guys would just do a little bit better with the people that you bring around your products, because there are people who you bring around who might not have said the kindest things about people of color. And yeah, you could pass it off and say, oh, well, people make mistakes, but that's a fundamental issue that has kept people down, and people like my people down for years. So you can't just ignore that. That's something that just can't be ignored just because you want to, do it for the sake of entertainment. Like, y'all really need to back up and think a bit and just relax. But at any rate, we move forward and give the prediction for Hell in a Cell. I'm predicting Oba Femi is going to win this match. Full stop. Oba Femi is winning, and I feel like that's really just going to be the end of the story. He's going to win. Vaughn, hey, thank you for watching. What's up? I'm really pumped about seeing you here. Thank you so much for watching. Vaughn is saying having Ryan beat up Danhausen was the middle finger to him and the fans. I will get to that in a moment. Um, yeah. And yes, he's saying Oba wins. You got Brock's face blurred out. LOL. Yes. But yeah, I'm really feeling like Oba is going to win this because, of course, they have been fighting each other since WrestleMania. Oba beat him at Mania, and then Brock beat him at Clash in Italy. And of course, Hell in a Cell is where feuds go to ultimately reach their conclusion. That's how it had been in the past, and that's what they're bringing back. So I'm predicting that Oba Femi is definitely going to win it in order to solidify himself as the dominant ruler force in WWE. And Brock Lesnar is just going to have to pack it up. He's just going to have to pack it up. That's just how I feel about it. That's how I would prefer it would go. Obafemi is the future, and he is the new big thing, and they need to let that happen. And it's kind of crazy how Paul Heyman was talking about how Lesnar was this combat specialist in the ring and also in cage matches and all of the above. But my thing is, they also mentioned on a special, on the SummerSlam special that they were having on ESPN2 last night after NXT, that Brock Lesnar had only been in Hell in a Cell a few times and not like so many times like they were trying to allude to. So I think Brock's biggest mistake is that he's going to underestimate Oba, and Oba is going to rise to the occasion and kick his butt. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty crazy, and I just feel like Oba's gonna win, and I'm very happy that this will be my third Hell in a Cell that I get to witness in person, because my first one was Finn versus Edge, and my second one was CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre Bad Blood. So this being my third one, I'm pretty stoked about. It's gonna be crazy. Vaughn is saying, I hope Oba stands on the top of the cell like Brock did when he beat Taker in '02. That would be a sick image, wouldn't it? That would be really sick. But yeah, Oba is my prediction. He is the god, the ruler, the destroyer, and the bringer of war, and the mountain we cannot climb. And he's going to win it all. And finally, in the main event, or at least what I would imagine would be the main event of SummerSlam Saturday. This really surprised me because I thought this could have main evented Sunday, but they made the card the way they made the card. So Saturday, the main event, we have Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, going up against CM Punk for the undisputed WWE Championship. And as much as I love Cody Rhodes down, I'm predicting that CM Punk will retain the undisputed WWE Championship. And we might see another side of Cody that we have not seen in a long time. I am predicting that this is going to be the day that Cody might go bad guy because he's been crashing out a little bit. Um, Ever since CM Punk accidentally hit him with the belt and then mushed him at the kickoff show and everything, they've been heated at each other. They've been, breathing down each other's neck. Cody is very much wondering who he can trust at this point because everybody near Mama has been stabbing him in the back. But Punk is like, look, I'm going to stab you in the front. I'm going to tell you when I'm coming. So whatever I have to do to keep this title, I'm going to do it. And so I'm predicting that CM Punk will retain the championship. And I just feel like we're going to see a weird crash out from Cody Rhodes that we have not witnessed before. And I'm scared, but I think it's going to be peak television. So I'm ultimately prepared for whatever happens. And I love Cody Rhodes to death. And of course, last year at SummerSlam, he um, won the WWE Championship from John Cena in his final SummerSlam. But I just don't think that this is what's going to happen here. I think he's going to lose to CM Punk and he's going to have a stadium worthy crash out. Don't ask me why I feel that way. I just do. I just feel like the crash out is coming and it's going to be nuts. Vaughn in the comments is saying it would be hilarious if Punk has Vikings or Timberwolves colors. I don't think he'll wear Timberwolves colors because of course he's a Chicago guy. I don't think he'll do that. But I will say this. I do think it's funny how last year I will never forgive Seth Rollins last year for cashing in on CM Punk when he had on his Fantastic Four gear because I had went to see Fantastic Four that weekend with my now ex-boyfriend, whatever. And and I was excited about the Fantastic Four movie. I loved it and all the things. And then CM Punk came out there dressed in that gear because he always says it's clobbering time like the thing. And then he wins the title all for him to get cashed in on by Seth Rollins. I was so upset. So I don't know what he's gonna wear. I feel like Vikings gear would be really cool. It would be cool, but I feel like he's also a very personal person where he'll wear something that's very personal to him. So I can't wait to see whatever it is he's cooking up in the gear department because he never misses there. But I do have a request for someone when it comes to gear. But either way, it's gonna be cool regardless. Vaughn is also saying the thing got beat by Doctor Doom at WrestleMania 42 in Vegas. Look, man, I can't. Oh, all the Marvel. I'm so excited. And then this week, Spider-Man comes out. I gotta avoid spoilers like the plague. But either way, this is gonna be an awesome match. It's gonna be really cool. Punk versus Cody. But I'm definitely predicting that Punk is gonna retain, but Cody's gonna crash out. So now that we are moving forward into that's the end of our predictions for SummerSlam Saturday. So now we're moving into Sunday. Um, I have a lot to say about this women's match. This is the only women's match on the card for SummerSlam Sunday. Is a ladder match. Now, I am a huge fan of seeing the women in extreme circumstances like this. I love it. I love seeing women in extreme matches like this. Like if you give me a women's match in a cage, a women's match in war games, a women's match in blood and guts, like I am a fan of that. I love it. Like if you gonna play equal to the men, let's do it. Like let's go full out with it. So I am so happy that this ladder match is happening. However, I do I know a lot of people have had a lot of feelings about how they feel about it being an interim women's championship match, given the circumstances of Rhea Ripley being injured. And I do wish her a speedy recovery because being hurt is not fun. It's not fun at all. And I hope that she does get better. And I really do believe that WWE just didn't want her to give up the title like a lot of people on their platforms have been saying. They're like, why didn't she just relinquish? Why didn't she just relinquish? Because I honestly feel to have someone relinquish multiple times would make them look weak in a sense. And Rhea, who is like a huge star, having her relinquish twice from being hurt within the span of 3 years would sort of chip away at her aura just a tad bit. And I kind of understand the thinking of that and them not wanting her to have to just give it up again. Like that would seriously suck. So I understand why they're doing it, but it's so funny because when they were doing the interim thing, it reminded me a lot of the other side of wrestling fun over at AEW because they do a lot of interim stuff too in whenever injuries and stuff happen. But in the midst of this, we lost the possibility of seeing Jade versus Charlotte, which it seemed like they had been building up to, and a lot of other opportunities that could have highlighted the Women's United States Championship and had other matches for that and highlighting other women for that too. But I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of tough. But I do, like I mentioned before, I am excited about the match regardless. And I can't wait to see who will be, the next person. I'm predicting that the person that will move forward and qualify for the ladder match will be Lash Legend. We have seen her in a ladder match before down in NXT when it was for the Women's North American title down there. So I'm predicting she will be added to the match just to add a wrinkle in her relationship with Nia Jax, who's been trying to qualify for that ladder match for the past 2 weeks but hasn't been able to. So yeah, I'm predicting that Lash will be added to a ladder match, and I'm ultimately predicting that Chelsea Green is going to win. I'm predicting that Chelsea Green is going to win and be the interim world champion simply because I have been on Team Chelsea having a big title singles run for a while now, especially given what happened last season on WWE Unreal when everyone, got up in arms over people backstage saying that she wasn't that type of a champion or couldn't be that type of a champion. I feel that this could be Chelsea's time to be that type of champion, even if it's for a short little while. I want her to win that ladder match. And it's so interesting that in her friendship with Tiffany Stratton, they were alluding to what happened at Money in the Bank 2024 when Tiffany pushed her off the ladder and into some tables in Canada, which ultimately led to her winning the Money in the Bank briefcase that year. And that was crazy. That was a crazy spot to witness. But I'm hoping that that doesn't happen. Um, and I'm just hoping that Chelsea Green just wins because that would be really cool. If somehow she wins and then she faces Rhea, and then by hook or by crook, she becomes the actual champion, that would just be really cool for me. Um, and I'm pretty sure you could make the choice of a bigger, bolder choice like a Jade or a Charlotte and stuff, but I want Chelsea to get the ball. Let Chelsea get the ball. Let her play. Because, yeah, give it to Chelsea. I'm predicting Chelsea. So, sadly, that's the only women's match on the card for SummerSlam Sunday. And like I said earlier, I am hoping that Rhea Ripley does get better. And that we do see her back soon because I kind of do miss her and I do miss people screaming their heads off for her, and everything. But, it's stuff, life happens, stuff happens, and it's okay. So, moving into the men's matches for Sunday, we have Danhausen, the sports icon, and probably the guy more likely to replace the Statue of Liberty in New York, going up against Dirty Dominic Mysterio in a human monies on a pole match. This stipulation got added on Monday, and I didn't really know how to feel about it, but considering they've been going back and forth about money for like the past couple of weeks, I feel like this is a natural progression of sorts. I'm predicting Danhausen is going to win and Dominic is just going to be broke. He's just going to be broke after it's all over, but I feel like shenanigans are just going to be really silly. Curses will be had. Um, Teeth might get knocked out. I just feel like Danhausen is going to win. Plus, not to mention, I can't wait to see his ice cream truck that's riding around. I hope I see it while I'm in town because if I do, I'm going to lose my mind. Um, but I'm predicting that Danhausen is going to win because he just has to. He's just that guy now. He's very popular, and I just feel like this has to be, yeah, this is his moment. And I also hold the opinion that that segment with him and Joe Hendry wasn't exactly the worst. The only bad part about that segment on Monday with him and Joe Hendry was the fact that Ryan Garcia was a part of it. That was the only bad part, given what I found out about him after the fact. That was the only bad part. Every other part was fine. I was here for the goofiness, I was here for the singing, and I was here for the Clipper girls dancing because I used to dance. So seeing that was cool. Seeing them sing and play instruments was cool. Ryan Garcia, stay over there. That's just how I felt about it. But Danhausen is going to win this match, and I'm definitely here for that. Now, next we have Penta Cero Miedo versus Chad Gable for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, on this entire SummerSlam card, there are three people from Minnesota. You have Pumpkinhead Lesnar, you have Tiffany Stratton, and you have Chad Gable. All three of them hail from Minnesota in different ways. In my opinion, I believe that Chad Gable is the only person from Minnesota that needs to win. He's the only one. Excuse me. His redemption arc from being El Grande Americano to fighting the now Grande Americano that we have and having one of the greatest matches of the year and finally embracing himself and then apologizing to the greats of Lucha and finally, embracing himself being enough is an amazing journey. And then now getting back home, it's really great. I really like that journey. I like that redemption arc. I think it's really cool. And Penta has done a phenomenal job defending that Intercontinental Championship. Of course, even also with the, growth of AAA and all the above, like he has done a phenomenal job being that dude and defending that title against the best of the best of the mid card. And I almost feel like it's almost been at least a little bit over a year since he's won it. So I feel like if this is the time for him to lose it, this is the time for him to lose it. And Chad Gable deserves it because he has been in front of his family so many times and lost opportunities, won up, and looked like a fool in front of his family. I'll never forget when he lost to Gunter in front of his family on my birthday one year. That was really tough. Um, yeah, Chad Gable. I'm predicting that Chad Gable will finally win the title that he's been going after for a long time. He's going to win it, and he's definitely going to be the very best for himself now. And he's the only Minnesota wrestler on this entire card that needs to win anything. No shade to Tiffany Stratton because I love her down. All shade to Brock Lesnar. But Chad Gable is going to win the Intercontinental title. He just is. And yes, Vaughn, Brock is going to catch strays on the Hardy Wrestling podcast until I decide to not do it anymore. That's just how I feel. Because you can't do people wrong constantly and be listed in investigations and just think that everything's okay. So, yeah. But yeah, Chad Gable's gonna win. He is winning the Intercontinental title, and it's gonna be a beautiful big moment for him, and it's gonna be cool. So yeah. Now here is a match that I have a lot of questions about, and that's not to be rude or anything because I'm happy that Baron Corbin found his way back as the Nomad and found his way back to WWE. Because I did not think that I would ever see him again on this platform, but seeing as he has returned, I think that's cool. But I just hate that he got in black people's business and ruined Carmelo Hayes' chance to challenge for the United States title with Trick Williams. Like, I hate that because now this is like the second time Carmelo has not been on a large pay-per-view of this magnitude like this. It's like he got snubbed from WrestleMania and then he got snubbed from SummerSlam. Like, it's really irritated me why as to why this keeps happening to Carmelo because he is a favorite of mine. And he's been on the Hardy Wrestling podcast. I've interviewed him before. He's a great guy. He's very passionate. He's decorated in terms of NXT. Like, I don't understand what the deal is. I don't understand what the deal is. I want more for Carmelo. He deserves to be on these PLE cards. Like, I don't get it. I'm not understanding what the problem is. And I also don't understand why is it that, in all of the bookings of triple threats and so many other things that you didn't just throw him in the match as a triple threat because Baron Corbin interfered and ruined his opportunity. So by all accounts, you should just give it to him. But I don't know. It's just I just want Carmelo Hayes to get his things. And I'm tired of watching him not get his things. So with this match, we have Trick Williams versus Baron Corbin for the United States Championship. I'm predicting that Trick Williams is going to win this match because we just have not seen Trick versus Melo yet for that title. And I'm not ready to watch him lose that title, especially to someone who just got back here. I think Baron could be in another position if he loses, or maybe he could keep going. I'm not entirely sure. But I just don't want to see Trick lose the United States Championship just yet. And I will also give another funny prediction. I feel that Trick Williams will be the one to do a Prince cosplay. He will be if he's going to do a Prince cosplay. If anyone is going to do a Prince cosplay, it's either going to be him or Seth Rollins. But I think Seth Rollins is in a completely different headspace, and I feel like it's going to be Trick Williams. Trick is going to do a Prince cosplay at SummerSlam, and it's going to be cool and cute and really hot. Respect to Lash Legend, and he's going to retain the United States Championship. And that's just how I feel about it. Um, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that match, but I'm predicting that Trick is ultimately going to retain. And then we have this interesting match. We have Finn Balor versus Sami Zayn in a number one contenders match for the undisputed WWE Championship. So whoever wins this match gets to go up against either Cody Rhodes or CM Punk, given who wins that match on Saturday. Oh my God. Sami Zayn has an axe to grind with everyone. And it's so interesting. It's like he's blaming everyone but himself for having lost the title that he finally won after years of working for it. And he even complained on the SummerSlam special on ESPN2 last night. And it was just really crazy to just hear him come up with all kinds of excuses as to why, he lost, as opposed to just blaming himself for not being locked in and not being ready and all of the above. So I think my big prediction is that Finn, I feel like Finn Balor might win this because we're seeing an upswing for Finn that we haven't seen in a long, long time. He's recently defeated Tama Tonga and Tala Tonga. I just can't help but feel that this is a sort of a renaissance for Finn. And it's really interesting that this is coming off of 10 years removed from when he first won the Universal title, only to have to give it up the Monday after due to injury. So I just can't help but feel that numbers and anniversaries mean things. So I just can't help but feel that this is Finn's time. I want Finn to have a greater opportunity for a world title, and I feel like this really might be his chance. But you can't underestimate Sammy and his caginess either. So I'm predicting that Finn might win and Sammy might crash out. That's my prediction for this. But of course, like I always say, if I'm wrong, I will say that I'm wrong. But ultimately, I think it's Finn's time. It's definitely Finn's time. He is long overdue, kind of the same way that Sammy is long overdue. And it's so interesting that even on the special they had last night, they were talking about how Big E mentioned how Finn and Sammy are essentially pioneers in the style of wrestling that we see and the stars that we are seeing to a degree. And it's true. because they were all in black and gold NXT together with Kevin Owens and so many others who are stars in other avenues as well. So it's interesting to see this level of growth and seeing them have to go against each other at this point in time where they both feel like they have a lot to prove, even though they are super talented. Um, so yeah, I'm really excited for this match, but I'm definitely predicting that Finn is going to win. And finally, we have the main event for SummerSlam Sunday. Roman Reigns defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Seth Rollins, the man who never lost that World Heavyweight title. I feel like Seth Rollins, he loves that World Heavyweight Championship so much. And I feel like something that they're not alluding to or have not said as much in their back and forth with each other is the fact that Seth Rollins won that championship and wanted to add prestige to it as a workhorse title to be sort of the complete opposite of what Roman was being with the undisputed WWE championship. And now Roman has it. And I feel like they haven't said anything about that part as much as they've been leaning fully into their brotherhood with the shield and the stabbing of the back and the cash ins and the outsmarting of him and all of the outsmarting of Roman and all of the above, with the mind games and all of the above. It's been crazy. The buildup has been nuts. They've been cussing each other out. It's just been a lot of craziness going on. Seth has been giving Roman the stomp, the whole stomp, and nothing but the stomp. And on Sunday, it ain't over. It ain't over. He's probably going to give him some more stomps. But here again, because I think almost because Seth was triumphant last year at the expense of CM Punk, I think that Roman really might retain this title. I just feel, I don't know. I just don't. Oh man, it's so hard because I would love it if Seth got the title back that he never lost in the first place. But at the same time, I just can't help but feel like Roman is going to retain this championship, and we might see someone else challenge him after being triumphant this weekend. And I really feel like Oba could challenge him after this point. But then you also have LA Knight who could very well challenge him. Solo could, you just never know. But I just can't help but feel that maybe Roman really might retain here. And even though everybody keeps bringing up all of his old shenanigans with the bloodline, something that has not been happening as of late is the fact that Roman hasn't even been using them for his victories. In this new iteration of the Bloodline saga, he's been winning his matches all on his own. So I do have to give Roman his tens for that. Everybody, has a tendency to keep bringing up the past, but it's like Corey Graves always says, wrestling is a what have you done for me lately type of business. And lately, Roman has been winning by himself. So, yeah, I feel like Roman is going to retain because there are a lot of other big matches that we could have down the line that could be very high marquee on the list. So, that's my prediction for that. Roman is retaining at SummerSlam to put an end to this big brother, little brother chapter, and it's going to be intense, but it's going to be really good. So, those were all of my predictions for SummerSlam. And now we've reached the end of our time together. Thank you guys so much for watching me live on whatever platform you're watching me on right now. I know right now I'm counter programming AEW, so I'm going to get off of here. But I just wanted to come on here and give my predictions for the show because I will be traveling and just having a fun trip with my dad up there. And I just wanted to come on and share some of my thoughts about what's been going on. So thank you guys so much for being supportive of me and of Bianca and the growth of the show. Um, Another iteration of the show will be making its return next, hopefully within the next few weeks. Steph and Cat Talk WoW will be back because newer episodes of WoW Superheroes will be starting next weekend. So be on the lookout for announcements involving that. And of course, continue to support Katrina at InCat We Trust everywhere. Support Bianca Addison at Bianca Addison everywhere. And just continue to support me and follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow the show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the YouTube channel, and also you can follow me on Threads too at Queen Steph Hardy. And like I said earlier, follow me on TikTok at Stephanie_Hardy. So, with that in mind, I hope you guys are having a fantastic week and have a great and safe SummerSlam weekend, whether you're coming to the show or watching it from home or whatever. I hope you have a great time and just enjoy all of the wrestles because we're in a interesting place. But I think as long as we continue to just have fun and enjoy things, then everything will be just fine. So this has been the Hardy Wrestling Podcast Extra with my SummerSlam predictions with your girl Stephanie Hardy. And until next time, bye y'all.